Hello folks, I'm back again with another watch review of sorts. Today I thought I'd do something different, whereas I generally review watches that I've purchased. This is sort of different a bit. I've purchased all these watches, of course, but these watches are watches that I actually modded. I purchased these Seiko watches, and after watching a series of YouTube videos, decided I'd try my hand at modding watches. Had been watching videos for a very long time. These are not the first watches that I've actually modded, but these are the particular model that I've modded the most of. My first watch modification was the tried and true Seiko SKX007. I actually have modded 5 of them so far, and I'm going to do a review on those pretty soon. But today I would like to focus on a little known Seiko model that's actually kind of unique and kind of cool too for the price. I'm talking about the SNZH variety of Seiko automatic watches. These watches are very, very nice. They have a 7S36, which is different from the 7S26 movement that's in this Seiko SKX007. So this is a really cool movement as well. I have these watches actually laid out in a very specific order, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'd like to focus on the very first two, which are a SNZ57, which is this one, it's in gold, and also the SNZH53, which is this one. This watch is, these two watches are the ones that you would use if you're going to mod a quote-unquote Seiko 55 Phantoms, not to be mistaken with a Blancpain 50 Phantoms, but sort of similar. Now, these components I got from, I actually got from Degas. So shout out to Jacob for hitting me up with these parts. The dial I got from Degas. The hands I actually kept from the actual watches. When I did these modifications, I decided that I wouldn't want to add too much to the overall cost that would kind of defeat the purpose. So what I did was I kept the actual hour and second hand from the actual watches themselves, and I simply purchased the second hand, which, as you know, uniquely from the 50 Phantoms, has a red tip. And I got those hands not from Jacob, he didn't have those. I got those hands from Yoboki's Mr. Harold. Shout out to Harold for definitely putting me on to those. I actually purchased the hands from Yoboki's, but the dial I got from Degas. Now, Harold actually sells the 55 Phantoms dial as well. His dial is slightly different in the sense that it has the aqua lung. And to be honest with you, I probably would have gone with the Yoboki's version of the 55 Phantoms dial, but hey, there's enough love out there to spread the wealth around. So I got those from Jacob and did a pretty good job, as a matter of fact. And I took off the stainless steel bracelet that came with these watches and opted for a leather bracelet, which I then put a deployant clasp. I figured that if we were going to use, and when I say we, I mean my wife and I, this watch actually I modded for my wife. So yes, she has a modified Seiko 55 Phantoms in her watch collection, and this blue variant is actually the one that I did for myself. But I thought that they would look nice as dress watches, and so I put them on these two leather straps. Is quite popular with the stitching there. And yeah, they're really cool. I did a pretty good job. Like I said, I didn't spend too much extra money on it. As far as like I did with the SKXs, I just went ham on those, changed almost everything, and they came out pretty nice. Now, those were the very first SNZH watches that I modified. And then I went on to these two. Now, these two watches are SNZHs as well, but they are the SNZH 55. Now, these watches come with a black dial with silver insert, right? And I decided that for these I would modify them out of Doxas. Now, this is very interesting because if you're familiar with Doxa, you know that the dial on a Doxa has basically two different scales. And I contacted Harold and I asked him which watch and his estimate would be the better one if you're going to do a Doxa mod. And he told me that I should be using a turtle because a Seiko turtle closely more mirrors the shape of a Doxa. But and using a turtle at $400 per watch, it could get kind of pricey. These particular watches I got off of eBay at various times. So I paid two of them I got for $126. Two of them I got from JomaShop. I think I paid $140. And then two of them I got off of eBay. I think I might have paid $135. Now, Seiko suggests that these watches be sold for $300, believe it or not. And at $300, you may as well put another $100 and get a turtle. So I wanted to keep the cost down because I knew I wanted to modify these watches. And I really did think that these SNZH models were pretty good candidates for these particular mods. And I was right. I'm quite happy with them now. I would love to have a bezel insert which closely mirrors the bezel insert that comes with the Doxa, but you can't get that for this particular Seiko. If you want that, which Harold does have, and I think the guys has as well, you're gonna have to use a different watch. All right, but if someone could make a bezel insert or just a full bezel that would snap off and that I could put onto this watch, that would be cool, and I would swap them out in a minute. But as you can see, not a bad job. I started gaining confidence in my mods. I reached out to Harold and I purchased the Doxa hands from him. So these are the exact hands that, the style hands that are actually on a Doxa. The yellow Doxa uses all black hands. The silver Doxa uses a orange minute hand and a black hour hand, and the second hand is black with the square. Again, these dials I got from Degas. I probably would have gone with, I'm sorry, I think earlier I said for the 55 Phantoms that they have an aqualung. I take that back. The 55 Phantoms from your Bokies and the one from Degas looks very similar. They mirror the 50 Phantoms. It is the Doxa from your Bokies that has the aqualung. And if I had to do this all over again, I probably would have gone with that. I probably would go with that particular dial because it looks different and it closely more mirrors the Doxa. Again, and not being selfish, I actually modded this watch for my wife. And what I started to think that I would do is put an original Neo Spain bracelet on this watch to closely more mirror the 1960s era where these straps were very popular on dive watches. So I got this aftermarket, took off the silver, the stainless steel bracelet, and added this rubber strap. It's really cool too. And I'm not really sure she understands the magnitude and the level of love that I'm showing with these mods, but she actually likes this watch. And this one I kept for myself. And I actually decided to keep the stainless steel bracelet that came with the watch on it. So you get a chance to see. Again, this is the SNZH 55. Kept the bracelet. The silver Doxa comes with the orange, black hands, and because I knew I wanted to use this as a dress watch, I kept it. Now, because I kept the bracelet, I can actually, let me open this up so that you can see. It is a skeleton movement, a Seiko skeleton movement. Actually quite nice. You can see those on the other watches, but I won't bother to take them off of the I won't take them off of the cushions that I have them on. But this watch I actually modded for myself. I wear this as a dress watch occasionally, but it is it's really cool. And this was the second of the SNZ series of watches that I actually modded. Yeah, this is definitely crispy right here. This is really, really, really nice. But moving on, I decided that I wanted to try my luck again because I was going so well with the Doxa mods that I actually did a blue one and an orange one. The blue one I made for myself and the orange one I made for my wife. Now, what's interesting about these watches is that when I was going to think about selecting a, this is upside down. When I went to select a strap for them, I was watching some videos from Patrick Marlett, who has a YouTube channel, and he introduced YouTube to Erikas Originals. I watched the video. I think Erikas, shout out to Erikas, she's an amazing woman who custom makes NATO, Marine National NATO straps out of parachute, World War II parachute straps. And I decided to get straps. I said, you know what, the next mods that I do, I'm going to actually get Marine National straps from Erikas. And I did that. I thought that I matched them up, and I matched them up. The colorways are really, really nice. The colorways for these watches are nice. The blue one as well as the orange one. This blue one I made for my wife, and this orange one I made for myself. Very nice colorways. Really, really like those. Get a lot of compliments when I wear mine. Not really sure what happens when she wears hers. She doesn't give me much feedback. I know she did tell me that she liked them. Those Marine National straps were $100 each, custom, but well worth the money. Definitely suggest that you check her out. She's on YouTube as well. She has a channel. And I just want to talk a minute about these particular watches. Now, Seiko introduced these Seiko 5 series of watches back in the around 1960 or so. And what they thought all of the watches should be are they should have 5 distinct components. Namely, they should be automatic, they should have a day date, they should have water resistance, there should be a crown at the 4 o'clock, and they should come on a stainless steel bracelet. Now, interestingly enough, because of these modifications, especially the ones, the 55 Phantoms, you don't see the day date field, because I have actually, the dial blocks them out. If there was the original Seiko 5 dial, you would see that the date would be to the left of where you see, I'm sorry, the day would be to the left of where you see the date. But because I changed the dials, you can't see them. But trust me when I tell you that those Seiko 5, these are Seiko 5 models, they do come with the day date. This particular model does not have the crown at the 4 o'clock position. Rather, it has it at the 3, which is very interesting. But aside from that, they are 42 millimeters from side to side, 14 millimeters wide. They come with the mineral crystal skeleton case back, which I've shown. The lug width is 22 millimeters. And like I said, Seiko is suggesting that these watches be sold for $300. Now, are they worth $300? I myself would rather buy an SKX 007 with the automatic movement as well if I was going to modify it. But as a dress watch, the Seiko 5 series of divers are not bad. I'm not talking about these new ones that are replacing the SKX. I absolutely hate those watches. I'm not really sure what Seiko was thinking. As far as these watches go, the modifications that I've done on them are simply amazing. And I just want to thank all of the YouTubers who put videos out on how to modify watches, and that were virtually tutorials and virtually give you the confidence to, if you're mechanically inclined and you work well with your hands, you should give it a try. The tools can be easily purchased on eBay. They come in various qualities, so that affects the price. But once you buy those things and you get into modding, let me tell you, you won't be able to turn back. Special shout out to Mark from Long Island Watches. He's another person who was very instrumental in me getting the confidence to modify these watches. And it's all part of my fascination and love for watches. Not only do I look for watches, enjoy watching pictures and videos of watches, but I've actually modified them. So it increases, for me, it's a very full-blown hobby, fascination, obsession, however you want to call it, and I've gotten quite good at it. I'm not going to stop modding watches. My next watch modification will be an SKX 007. I have all of the parts that I've gotten from various sources, and before the price starts to rise, because I know that's going to happen now that the word is officially out that those SKXs have been discontinued, I think one of two things are going to happen. Either the prices are going to start to rise so ridiculously that no one's going to purchase them, or there's going to be a market flood of all of the SKXs that Seiko may have in their vaults, which is going to affect the price, which may make the price go down. And if that happens, I may actually mod more SKX 007s just for collector's items or just to sell or flip. I don't know. But on the horizon, that's the only watch that I plan to modify in the immediate future. There are other Series 5 watches that I have modded. I'll probably do videos on those. The SNK 803, which is a Seiko Series 5 watch as well. I think I might have paid $60 for that. And I literally modded that 37mm watch to look like a Tudor Black Bay. The parts that I got from Degas as well. I think I got those parts, the dial, the hands, from Degas. It was a very simple modification because it didn't have a date. So the only thing I had to do was basically change the dial and slap on the hands. But I did do something different with that as well. I actually polished the top of the bezel. So whereas the case is brushed, I polished the top of the bezel thanks to a YouTube video that I had seen as well. But again, I just wanted to share this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to leave some comments, I'm always open to collective criticism or applause. And again, the Seiko SNZH family, you have the black dial with the gold accents, the blue dial with the, I guess it was be light blue or white accents, which are ideal for the Seiko 55 Phantoms if you want to modify that to look like the Blancpain 50 Phantoms. The Doxas, right? I went with the black bezels to keep uniformity, with the hope that one day either someone will make a bezel insert that mirrors a Doxa that fits this particular watch, or they will make the entire bezel that I can just pop off and put directly onto this. One other thing I want to mention, the way this watch is designed, The crystal, which is a mineral crystal, the way it sits into the bezel, I can't see changing it out. I'll contact Crystal Times to see if they make a a sapphire crystal that fits this watch. But the way it's designed, I wouldn't fool around with it unless you are changing the entire bezel, which already has an insert impregnated into it. I wouldn't try to take this bezel insert off to put anything different on it. But hey, the mod community is ever evolving. There's always changing. People are making suggestions. People like Harold, people like Jacob, people like Damien at DLW, they're constantly making modifications, mostly to the SKX007. That's the Honda Civic of watches. That's the most modified watch. So you don't really find too many instances where, with the exception of Crystal Times, where they make sapphire crystals for a great number of Seiko watches. I haven't seen any advertised for the SNZH line of watches, but if they do, perhaps I will change the crystal. But again, for myself and my wife to have these series of watches, tell me how many females you know that have 3 modified watches of this quality, 2 Doxas, one with the Erikas original Marine National strap, one with a yellow Neo Spain strap, one 55 Fathoms with the correct hands, as well as the red tip seconds hands. Come on, this is a beautiful. This, my friend, is a beautiful thing. Absolutely phantasmagoric. So if you like the video, if you want to add a comment, if you want to hit the subscription button, I'd appreciate it. No monetization here on this channel. I do it strictly for the love. And on that note, Cray Boogie out.